draw our attention to them. The difference for this draft so far is the presence of that Trundle. It's now being picked up as a ban taken away by AL. And with the Rakan takeaway here as well, maybe inciting for setting up for one of those Braum lanes, you know, giving away, taking out some of the engage potential from Kael. It is definitely something that you can do with this Rakan, and I do want to highlight that that does again give that Bard chance over to him, and we'll see whether or not that ends up being a possibility. And what it is that IG look for the first pick.
There you go. We end up getting the Annie through. It's been a premier pick for both these guys, but also just the majority of the LPL. The decisiveness it gets you with the flash Tibber stun and the damage it provides you, especially later on, it's absolutely game-changing. And I love to see Rookie on something like that. I mean, this guy is kind of the bodyguard of IG in a lot of ways, and him being proficient for the mid lane is super important for them getting off the ground running. A couple picks going to come through, a couple 1-2 punches for AL. It's going to be the Scion first, and I love it.
I really love seeing this, especially against an Annie, because this then means that you have to take double carries in the rest of your roles, like top lane and AD, because otherwise you're never killing the Scion. Annie is not a tank killer. Yes, you can go Malignance and Leandris, but you don't get through a Scion really ever. That's just not what the Annie does. And if you end up going for something, you can't now go for a Lucian really, because again, same problem, you need a hypercarry, you need something to get through a front line. So this heavily disincentivizes a lot of IG's potential picks. And if they do go for a Lucian here, it means that they are very pigeonholed in terms of what they're looking for as we move later on into the game.
Ooh, I do whatever. We're getting the 80s picked so early this time around. We had like literally R5 AD pick last time. See if that kind of heavy presence 2v2 in the bot lane is going to be the choice for IG. Try to get Gala ahead, or if they're going to save that for later. I do expect them to try to take something into the Corki now, because I think that pool can get dwindled down a little bit more, but the Ambessa is going to be the first priority for them before we go into the second phase.
Yeah, I mean, you can build Black Cleaver, you can set up for Gala here to have a little bit more damage up against the Scion. This makes sense, and it's also another carry that the IG are going to need in this composition.
True.
With the junglers potentially being picked, you talked about AD carries. Again, I think that they're going to be a little bit pigeonholed in terms of what ADs they can go for. So if they want to take one of those hyper carries here, they have that option, but they're also staring down the barrel of a jungle pool getting heavily pinched as well, right? Trundle's taken out the board. They go for the Vi, and this actually, looking at it, I was about to say, opens up for a Poppy. The Xin Zhao is still open if they want it, but this isn't just a jungle pick here for Tarzan. Yeah. This is a very heavy flex for AL that Kael actually, you know, for me, quite notoriously, flubbed the game 5 in MSI up against T1 on this Poppy pick.
Yep, and it is going to be locked in for them, so some lockdown is going to be provided. I want to ask you, before we get too far into it, what's the Ziggs priority looking like here? Is it going up for Gala at all?
No, I don't think Ziggs probably fits in here, but I don't think it kills a Scion. Again, like you have double front lines.
You need the sustained damage, right?
You need something that does more damage, unless you want to really snowball your early game. I think Ziggs here makes you very, very one-dimensional in the fact that you need to win early, and then that's about it. But for anyone's legend, they've got themselves a really staple bot lane. Again, I do think that this is going to be a Kael Poppy. They've got the option to flex it to the jungle if they want, and they see a good matchup for it. But they're kind of doing what IG do to other teams here with the Aurora ban away from themselves this time, which is, you know, a little bit strange to me. But either way, the fact that they get to use this flex pick and they use R5 so well, I think is really important.
Yeah, that's the utilization you'll see. It is going to be a kind of change of that second phase of bans, as the Orianna was the focus from IG. Got that Braum focus as well from AL. But I'm wondering if like the Senna ends up getting banned here by AL. No, it's going to be the Nautilus actually.
Again, we're looking for AD carries that have a lot of damage. Senna, no. Trying to get through a Scion, we're not hitting the marker there.
But you know, you play away from the Scion. It's fine. It's fine.
Oh, yeah. Flandre, just two-shots me. He just ults me and two-shots me. That's again. Either way, I think that it really depends now whether AL actually use this flex pick, and I think that it's smart from IG to ban mid laners because they know that that's an area of the map that still needs to be picked up. Victor is a very wise ban against an Annie as well, so no surprises to see that one taken off the board just because the Victor so heavily outranges. And now for AL, it's about finding whatever AP source of damage they want from the mid lane and looking at how well that's going to benefit their composition, because already they've got decent dive but also decent anti-dive as well with the Poppy, so they can look to play play a very defensive composition around Hope and Hope's Corki, which is, again, been very powerful through this split and through split 2 as well. But I think, looking at their damage overall, it is quite low and very geared toward Hope being the carry. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Tarzan pull something a little bit more unique out of the jungle.
Okay, I'm always here for it. Tarzan, my new age jungle king. See what he ends up getting with that R5. But right now, all eyes on IG, trying to figure out what they want to go with. It's going to be the Ezreal. So still some sustained damage. Not necessarily the sustained hyper carry damage that you're looking for, but you do have a lot of scaling there. And they're going to also lock in the Meiko alongside it.
You know, Mazel, we could be waiting for a long time. I'm not really happy with either of these compositions, which kind of gives it like a little bit of, well, both of them are probably just fine, you know, to match up against one another.
AL are cooking with their draft. The flexes go crazy.
Right? Like this Bard can just be piloted so frequently and so easily. Okay, so to dive into what my issue is with both of these compositions, AL have picked 3 tanks and Corki, which means that they are very low on damage. If Hope dies, AL probably lose. IG equally have got not great tank shred, right? They're looking at 3 tanks, and then your damage profile is 2 bruisers and Annie, who's really not consistent with DPS. Ezreal, who can maybe do it, and maybe like in really long drawn-out fights has the power to do so. So there's a world where it's okay for IG to play like this, and a world where it's okay for AL to play like this. But it is going to be really tricky on both of these sides.
Yeah, I think so too. And hey, it brings back that conversation of the bar of execution that we saw reached by AL in that game #1. But I don't think IG are doing themselves any favors with the setup they have here. We'll see who can get off the ground running, because I think that early momentum matters a lot between these two comps.
Absolutely. And I think that if we look at one of my issues with either of these compositions, it's about being able to take out one of the enemies and trying to find those early kills. If you snowball as an Ambessa, you can kill Sion no problem. If you snowball as a Corki, you can kill everybody no problem. So it really might come down to how well that early game ends up playing out.
Well, hey, and it's beautiful that it plays out between 2 teams that are vying for the top, vying for those spots to Worlds. 4 of them aplenty, but a long road until that point. AL have not lived up to the expectations that we had of them coming into Split 3, and IG, they have started to live up to the expectations that they set for themselves at the beginning of the year. This is the dawning of the second round robin for IG. AL a little bit further into theirs, but it nonetheless matters the most. Game 2 between AL and IG starts now.
敌军还有30秒到达战场，碾碎他们。
Not sure if quiet or
it's
bad
quiet.
fan mic.
It's
bad
quiet
mic.
for sure.
Yeah. Well, there was some chance, which is always good. There are no
I'm glad
calls
the
at the start
star
of this
power
game.
of IG can still pull cheers, you know?
Can still pull 3 people from different ends of the arena. Woo!
Well,
we would have made it louder if we were there.
True. I wish, my friend. Man, the being in the arena during an LPL game, especially like a big LPL game, is something that I feel like everybody should experience. It's a League of Legends fan. It is something completely different. It's crazy. God, bring me back. Let's go. I want to go in person. LPL would be great. The Gyos are always fun, but hopefully, we'll get people waking up for this maybe 3rd game of the series that we get here, because that bar of execution we talked about. I think it sets up to where that game 1 Andy style from AL might actually show through. And we were talking with our producer Rare Adam between the games, and he was telling us how IG have the gigantic average game time, longest in group ascend. But then that game #1 against AL, 26 minutes in the bag for them.
Yeah, so when they win, they take their time doing it, and it's very infrequent that when they lose, they do it as quickly as it just has happened.
Rip off the Band-Aid.
There was one game where they played JDG, and it was like 20-2 or something, and it was a complete slaughter. But this time round, obviously, AL looking really, really good from game #1 and looking to levy some of that into a really solid position for game #2 again. Looking at where our strengths are going to be in these competitions for anyone's legend. I can't emphasize how much this game is going to be about Hope, because there are 3 tanks around him and a Bard for a little bit of peel. But this is the Hope show. This is Corki gets off to the races, and then he carries us to a win.
And it's all about kind of like keeping the dog happy, keeping the dog protected. As the Corki has come through for Hope. But it often has been a story about protecting Hope in the trajectory of his career. And Wei is going to try to upend that a little bit here with some early potential ganking going through. At least not early, but at the end of his first path. And they have no idea. Hope already Valkyries, and now Wei coming around the corner. Get the foot! Just got both of his ankles completely shattered. Send him to the ER right now.
That's a kill every single time if it's played correctly there. I mean, Wei has no pressure to start even with his Q channeled. He can just walk up and start auto-attacking. And now on this top side as well, TheShy gets interrupted.
Oh no, if this goes off to the decimating smash, first blood for AL, the execution bar has been reached by one, but not the other. Now Hope and Kael getting revisited on this bot side. The wave will be there, Kael going down, the wave shots, one more, and it's a trade back. You'll take those as AL.
I mean, I'm taking that as IG, I'm going to be honest. I think that's really rough for the AL bot lane. I think the good thing is that they cleared the majority of the wave, so the experience wasn't necessarily lost. But this is 2 kills, that's all summoner spells now burned down on that bot side, and I think that IG can be very happy with that. The kill went on to Kael as well with no assist for Hope, so there's no gold going into the Corki's pocket for that Vi having fallen. Don't get me wrong, it's a much cleaner play on the overall sequence from AL. They get a really solid dive topside without any repercussions, and they're also able to look at getting a response kill on the bot side. But it's still a favourable play for Gala and a favourable play for Flandre.
Yeah, it's going to feel good to get Gala any sort of gold. He already has the Sheen now, too, so some extra fighting power there on the Ezreal early. Dragon is coming up now. It is going to be starting with an Infernal Dragon here. We have had those lane swaps coming through, so it will be the bot lanes in the top side of the map getting ready for those grub plays, but do wonder who wants to take prio if we do see another late Dragon starting as Wei expertly navigating his own jungle here, realizes there might have been some pressure coming through, or maybe that the dragon had been started. Ends up losing his chickens out, though, in the end.
And is Rookie now the one under fire here? Looks like Tarzan's just going to be able to walk in, quickly clear out that pink ward that Rookie had just put down, and a little bit of poke damage coming through from the Annie, just to make sure that Shanks can't particularly contribute to any plays that will happen on the rest of the map. But importantly, without Tibbers, the burst potential really not all that high, and Shanks now feels very safe in this mid lane, popping that refillable. He's got the null magic mantle picked up nice and early. Expect those merc treads to be picked up soon enough for Shanks, and then he'll really just not be movable in that mid lane.
Love that both mid laners starting off with Dark Seals. Really buying into the style we said for both these teams, where both of them have a lot of execution needed to make these comps work. The Dark Seal definitely needing that as well, but we are getting these level 6s. Does that change the environment, at least between the two teams?
I think that as we ding level 6, the burden then adds into both of these sides. They've both got very heavy engage. They've both also got quite sustainable disengage, or I will say that's the case for AL at the very least. I think that IG are going to need to try and find those engages with Meiko, with Wei following up on TheShy as well. If those 3 things connect all together, Tarzan.
Slow coming down, double hit with the Keeper's Verdict, and that's why you give Tarzan the poppy. He is an expert, and he does execute it well. They do get the kill back for Hope in the top lane as well.
Yeah, looking at that thinking, I don't really know what the kill angle looks like here, especially with the double root from Meiko. However, no flash on said support means that just a flash engage and the snap knock-up from the Poppy is actually enough to get the kill. And importantly, once again, it goes into Hope's pocket, so sort of offsetting a little bit of that issue that we found earlier on.
It's funny how things start to offset in these moments, but this is definitely a heavily contested early game. I like to see some of these movements. Meiko is going to show up in mid lane to support Rookie, get that push going in.
A 7th minion in a non-cannon wave?
Crazy.
My lucky day.
Yo, you say that though, but like, hey, 20 minutes in now, he's going to find a play, and you're gonna be like, the players are going to be stunned, shocked. Yeah. Absolutely insane.
Hold tab, guys.
Again,
Hold tab.
we're getting another setup here between teams that aren't really confident to try to push the tempo of these neutral objectives, at least on the bot side, at least in the Dragon regard, because grubs are coming up now.
Yeah, and that even in game number 1 wasn't an indicator for a trade to happen. One grub set went down, no trade for the Dragon on the flip side as Tarzan smites away the crowd down on the bot side. Has been lethal really with how efficient he was with that smite. Now Kael is spotted.
Instantly Tibbers stunned. That was a really beautiful play from Rookie. The lockdown Kael not let hope really follow through, though they will lose a little bit of priority there. They're going to start up the grubs.
Looking at the minimap though, all 5 members from both teams are here. IG snipe 1.
Instantly onslaught coming through from Flandre. They're going to move in. Shanks coming in as well. Heroic entrance is available. The grubs are the focus. IG want to move in with TheShy coming in now with the backline access. Grubs are still focused in for both teams. It's going to be 2 for 1 in favor of IG. Flandre is trying to get away in that bottom side of the fight, but AL are stuck in the pit like fish in a barrel. Who wants to pull the play? The Temper Fate comes through. The cease and desist. The heroic entrance, but it's on the wrong side of the fight. They're completely split. Hope has left them, and Hope misses the boss bomb. Meanwhile, AL still find picks in the middle of the pit. It's going to be Shanks helping get one back for Tarzan, but chaos in a 4 for 4 early game.
Okay, AL and Kael in particular there, a really shaky fight on the board, unfortunately. Allows IG to get 2 out of the 3 grubs and a good couple of kills off the back of that as well. Again, looking at where those kills have been found, 3 of the 4 of them on those carries. Now, the important part of this, really well played by Meiko to use the clone to tank the Scion, but look at Kael's portal here. Takes them just into the pit, and now this entire time, when AL are jockeying around in the pit, they don't have a portal to get themselves out of there. So it's a case of using various people's HP bars as a tool to buy time for Kael's portal. You see they're waiting, that stun goes wide, so IG feel like they can ingress. This ulti, dodged by 2, and then they decide to flash out. And then, that's these things with Shanks, because as soon as he flashes out, there's the hero's entrance coming in, and AL just a little bit split, a little bit lost in the source almost, and honestly just missed execution, really costing them.
Yeah, and I am going to wildly suspect that Shanks thought that Hope was getting cease and desisted. He ulted, and that was not the target that was getting killed. In the end, it was Kael that bit the dust there, and ended up splitting the fight there. As, yeah, I mean, Kael has been a legendary bard. I mean, we talked so much about it when he ended up locking this in. It's always an option for him, although showing some shakiness in the early parts of this game.
And I will say as well that it's good to get the legwork out early.
Instant flash play. Okay, Tarzan's still out of there. Pretty tanky here. Shanks was in a little bit of trouble, but should just be fine. And that is not going to come through for Rookie and the gang.
All right, well, Tibbers goes down, and we're at the stage now where we kind of recognize that Tibbers doesn't necessarily mean that we are fully committing. It does, however, onto a jungler feel really bad because they clear 1 camp and they're full HP, so we'll let Rookie live with that one and maybe learn from his mistakes in this instance. But again, we want to keep our eyes in these team fights on Hope in particular. If Corki lives, AL might win. If Corki dies, AL are going to really struggle to use this triple tank threat to do the damage and to be able to sustain and keep on top of Gala, on top of Rookie, on top of Wei.
Well, he's going to look for a play on the Shanks. Doesn't hit the cease and desist, or at least the vault breaker there. And did not feel like he wanted to pull off the cease and desist in the end. There's going to be pressure gained by AL on the bot side of the map. Dragon number 1 still available. If they do end up pulling back to it, TP is going to end up being utilized here to get that redeploy out to bot side by TheShy, who has completed Eclipse, and we are cresting over first items for majority members here soon.
Yeah, it's worth saying that the only real disparities in this game are individually in the laners. So Hope down 300 gold, the same for Shanks, but Flandre on this Scion actually up on the 1 versus 1, 700 gold over his counterpart. Importantly, it is again worth highlighting that with the pit stop at the Swifty Boots, with the pit stop at the Bramble Vest, he doesn't yet have that Sunfire completed. Isn't actually at a 1 item spike just yet, whereas you highlighted the Eclipse is finished for TheShy, so maybe there's a world where in these team fights, actually the Ambessa has a lot more free reign and a lot more agency to find purchase.
Hey, us 1900s guys, you know, we like to go to yard sales, and that's where Flandre is right now. Yard sales are great. If you haven't been to a yard sale, go to a yard sale. Dragon does finally go down 13 minutes into the game to the favor of IG, so they've had a pretty decent effort in terms of the neutral objectives. AL now getting back out on the map as a whole, and Tarzan going to try to get going on that next clear.
For the Europeans in the room, is a yard sale just where people take stuff from in their house outside of their house
and put it in their yard and sell it? Yes.
Okay, so in the UK we have an equivalent. It's called a car boot sale. Now, I think you guys call the boot your trunk.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. I verse in the language of your people.
Yeah, so the car boot sale is like a yard sale, but on mega steroids, where we don't just do it out of one car, we hire out a field, and then masses and masses of people, masses and masses of people go to this field.
A bigger version of the yard.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, hundreds of people. They're not doing it on one person's yard.
That's like a farmer's market or something. That's like an event.
It's all garbage from inside the house instead of like well-produced things, you know?
Okay. Gotcha. It's a massive yard sale, or as you call it, what was it? The boot sale?
Car boot sale.
So
you do it out the boot of your car. You would call it a car trunk sale because you're weird. But.
Yeah, because we're weird. Yep. That's it. Speaking of weird, there might be an all-in here on the bot side from the Scion onto TheShy. So much damage. He's got the yard sale. He's whipping it out. He's got a stick, and he's hitting TheShy on the head with it. The flash play. Can he get it? The all-out comes through from TheShy, and he gets away with the public execution shield coming through after the ability usage.
Yeah, my favorite thing, I did this with Slayer, is highlighting how much damage Flandre's built and making that a cause for why TheShy's being chunked out. And then you look at the damage items. There's actually
the flash play from Tarzan. They actually get the play onto Wei. He is trying to get out, but he didn't use the steadfast presence fast enough. Wei gonna flash away. He's using the turret now. AL fumbling this dive a little bit. They do end up taking him down in the end.
Yeah, making sure that the Scion is the one that tanks is just a really important part there. They do that. They find the kill. And again, it's a nice little pickup for AL. All started, really, with Flandre just having the better of the shine. The 1 versus 1. Remember, this Scion was picked first, so this is a counter pick that TheShy theoretically is comfortable with. And is being put in a situation where actually Flandre's putting the hands on him.
Yeah, he absolutely is on the Scion. And he's going to be getting closer and closer to that item completion for himself. Speaking of, Sunfire Cape kind of being completed. Sunfire I guess now. TP's coming out on the top side from AL.
Attempted response. I mean, this is pretty much gone.
No way.
I say that.
Okay, the smite comes through. Flandre's pretty tanky now, and we're starting to get to that point that we were worried about in the draft. Flandre is going to be harder and harder to deal with as time goes on, and Tarzan and Kael are just a roaming death squad at this point.
Yeah, like you said, I actually want you to look at how much damage Flandre took there. There were 4 people from AL sat trying to do damage, and we're just like, okay, Scion is absolutely fine. This is a replay of what happened down on this bot side, and Wei thinks that he's caught Kael, and then Tarzan immediately finds himself within position to flash on top of Wei. I like the attempted buffer from Wei here. He shorts his Q so that he doesn't get caught by the Poppy W, and he buffers the ulti so he doesn't catch as much CC. Unfortunately, it's just not enough. And AL with 3 members there, and even with it being more of a supporting cast, you can see that in this stage in the game, the base damages of a Poppy, a Scion, a Bard are enough to take down a Vi. But I do want to call out that as this game gets later and later, that's not going to be the case.
Yep. There's going to be a weird like middle ground where it kind of goes from unpassable to completely breakable. We'll see if we can get to that point. As we saw, AL did take first turret. They also got the feats, so they will have the upgraded boots for themselves whenever they're able to get to that point. But really what we're looking at next is this next dragon spawn in about 45 seconds, and what these item completions are really going to add to the mix is Meiko, speaking of adding something to mix, a beautiful steadfast presence from Tarzan, that time denying Wei's entrance. Meiko gets a cool play, but it doesn't matter much.
Yeah, a cheeky portal out to safety from Kael, this time doing its job perfectly. Does allow for the escape to come through. Now, though, IG looking to extend the play on the top side. Shanks knows he's being sacrificed.
Oh, really nice little play there, but still means his life will be forfeit. Slowly but surely, somebody's got to finish him, right? As Meiko goes in, does he end up losing one, but gets the kill back in the 1-for-1. The turret will end up falling, though, in favor of IG.
So look at what's happening on the bot side of the map. Dragon just spawned. And importantly, actually, Gala are able to defend the mid-tier 1 turret. Only a small amount of damage goes down, as we see in the picture-in-picture that there was a teleport cancelled by Flandre, so expect an advantage to come through there. Tarzan.
Okay, Tarzan in 1v2 right now. Does have teammates coming his way, though. Taking a 1v2, and Tarzan almost killed Rookie. Kael comes in and saves him. Tarzan goes a little bit golden with the Tempered Fate, and they get the play. Tarzan, what an absolute Chad. The New Age Jungle King struts his stuff in front of IG.
And it's the Bash Bros again. Kael and Tarzan step up and make the play happen on the bot side. Oh, in that top lane, in fact, it's really solid stuff from them as we see the save come through from Kael. We see Tarzan, a Bash Bro through and through as Hope.
Oh. Hope almost dying, ends up having a barrier, and now they both
Kael's
extend, so Kael getting chunked. The Mystic Shot not going to connect. True Shot Barrage goes a little bit wide. Meiko getting chunked by the rockets, and both sides limp away, bleeding.
Yeah, that's an Ezreal's sort of dream situation, where you're all sat low HP, but you know that you've got more range than anybody as Ezreal in that spot, so you're just quite happy to try and play on the edge, try and bait them back in to think that they can engage. But actually, with that win in the mid lane for IG, they're the ones that are able to go into the Dragon and set up to take it down quite quickly, putting themselves 2-0 with an Ocean Soul on the Rift this time round here, Mazel. It's not nothing that they found these couple of Drakes.
Yeah, the Ocean Soul is such a boon for both sides. If we take a look back at that fight, Tarzan just pulling the trigger up here. That's confidence.
Yeah, and Rookie again with a really well-timed stun. Tarzan would have liked to be able to buffer a Q in between the ulti and the Q to find confirmed damage. Fortunately, though, Mikhail's from Kael, a couple of Caretaker Shrines comes through, and the extra damage between himself and Flandre does mean that Wei isn't able to find anything. And what looks like a Poppy fancying a 2 versus 1 was actually just Tarzan playing the long game.
Yeah, hey, that's all that really matters in the end. Yeah, bash on Bash nephew. You'll love to see it. Hey, you got to combine the ages if you really want to find success. And so far, that had been AL's moniker here, really trying to lead the way with some of this veterancy mixed with some of the new journeymen, making that next level step. And that's why AL find themselves their first championship in Split 2. Far cry from where they are in Split number 3. You got to keep eyes on how many series they have left to play. This win would be huge for their second round robin.
Pulled Flandre here, maybe the scariest member on AL, into the mid lane in an attempt to take down this turret. Not successfully, though, unfortunately. Will look up towards that top side. Atacon has spawned, and for AL, they've got 2-item Corki at this stage. They've got 2 items on their big tanky Scion, and this is maybe the apex of the Scion. Flandre just has to sit here and buy time and make sure that IG can't get in.
I mean, they just chunk it here as well. They're already down quarter health. Tempered Fate goes through. They're going to rush it. Rookie coming with a flank. Rookie might have a massive flank here if Smite comes down. AL need to get out. Kael trying to use the magical journey at least. Flandre going to flash away. Rookie never got his stun off and wasn't able to find impact. Cease and desist goes down for Wei, and IG just lose the Atacon.
Meiko and TheShy, though, they're still fishing. Kael going to be the first one to go back through. Tries to face check.
Tries to, just gets popped, blossomed as the heroic entrance comes in. Kael's still alive, and now Hope is chunking with the rockets as the big buckler comes through from Tarzan. Does it, end up finding the kill. Tarzan is in the middle of everybody, gets publicly executed right in front of his friends.
And there are 4 people sat waiting in the brush. It was a series of different people thinking they were caught out until eventually IG are the ones that find Tarzan. As it starts with Kael face checking and a nice interrupt from Meiko to make sure that Kael is caught off guard. But then the rest of AL turn up. They spawn in and they keep Kael alive. All of a sudden, Meiko's the one under fire, and it's IG that are the ones that have to come out and bail out their support. They find the kill onto Tarzan, and even though the Atacon goes the way of AL, one fight in the end for IG and keeps this game just a little bit closer than AL might have liked. Overall, still a gold lead for them.
It was way bigger, though.
It's still about killing this Corki, Mazel, and if that fight's anything to go off of, we've got no confirmed faith in that.
Yeah, not yet at least. But in these fights, it's going to matter more and more, as now we have second items for both our AD carries. And I love to see them both having kind of performance. Like Gala in this game too feels a lot more set up for success than he did in game number 1.
There isn't a overwhelming advantage in the AD carries either, right? Like game number 1, we could see the Sivir spikes were hitting significantly earlier than the Jins were. And in this instance, it's pretty much even. And then you look at what champions they're playing. Well, we know for a fact that Ezreal, just as a champion, can do, or has the ability, I'd say the autonomy, to do more than a Corki in these long, drawn-out team fights. When we get to, you know, trying to kill a ton of tanks and pump out as much damage as possible, if you have an Apex Ezreal game where you're doing the exact right thing and hitting all of your spells, it's going to feel really good for Gala. It's just a case of whether or not he can actually kill the people that he's hitting.
Well, now we're getting set up for the next dragon. Would be soul point for IG. That's so much decision-making power, and they're going to move into the mid lane, take this out first to try to get that priority there. Dragon will be spawning soon, and you know AL wants to put a stop to this. They don't have to, and that's where I'm checking in on the scaling conditions for both sides. Are we feeling okay if AL give this one over?
Yeah, they probably don't mind all that much, but I don't think that their composition gets much better as the game gets later. Again, without having a real source of damage outside of your AD carry, it means you are pigeonholing all of your tools really into this Corki, and if that doesn't go well, that's then a problem.
Okay, well they decide it is time to fight. And they are going to move all 5 members. TheShy not going to be spotted out. Finally does end up getting spotted on the flank. IG moving in. It's been a little bit of that tug of war that we set up between the two teams, but this time holistically between the two ahead of this dragon. As AL now start this up. Shanks trying to keep body on TheShy. We're going to get set up here by IG. Rookie trying to get his stun combo going. Flandre as the tank. Wei sneaks into the back of the pit. Tarzan realizes something might be going on, but he has left TheShy with an entrance into the fight. Wei is not in, but he has the blast cone. Comes back in. Flash is not going to be used. He's not going to get in range, and AL will take the dragon. They're going to try to get away. The Keeper's Verdict used. TheShy gets tempered faded as Hope was the target, but now TheShy will get that dead bullseye stuck right to his forehead as Wei comes in. Trish Upright flashed out by Hope. Hope is still alive. You cannot kill the Hope of AL. It lives strong in all 5 members.
Meiko's going to be able to bail out, run for the hills, get chased down eventually. But AL, they know what their composition does. They know what it needs to do as well. And they will turn tail and head toward the Baron. Here comes Rookie, though, looking to try and stop this.
Rookie flashing away. He used everything right there. Was able to get out, but the unstoppable onslaught coming through, and Tarzan comes back over the wall. AL, they have realized that IG have overextended, and Rookie makes a mistake, and he pays dearly for it.
But now this is a case of actually what can Gala do, it looks like. If he can buy time for Wei to get out onto the map, for TheShy to get out onto the map, actually Rookie sacrificing his life might be fine.
So
and
close.
that was really good by Rookie. Even though he steps forward, even though he dies, he stops AL from getting the Baron, and that's worth.
In the end, hey, got to make the call for the team, buying all that time, realizing AL were willing to be a little bloodthirsty for it. But as we take a look at the dust settling, then the dragon went the way of AL. Stacking has stopped, and it was a really nice set of plays from AL.
Yeah, so Cosmic Binding on the top side from Kael stops Meiko from getting in. Flandre is stopping Rookie from getting in. And Tarzan uses the Keeper's Verdict to punt Gala away. So actually, when TheShy goes for this engage, he's a little bit isolated. He's a bit too alone. And then when Wei goes for this fight, there's Summon a Heal, Barrier, Flash, everything, and the kitchen sink to throw at Hope to keep him alive. Unfortunately for AL, they've got that. They had what they needed to keep the Corki going. And again, that's their tool, that's their ticket. That's the way for them to win. And you can see that as well in Hope's build path here, with him opting into those Mercury chests to try and keep himself a little bit safe, but also that he has to go damage. He's building a Collector third.
And if you're a fan of Star Wars, you know that Hope can never be killed. And at this point, it seems about right. It feels really good to kind of get that online for AL, and I'm struggling to see IG now. This is that situation we talked about from draft, where once things start getting out-balanced or counterbalanced, that's when these comps start to break down and go back to those worries that we had in the draft itself.
How do IG ever kill the front line of AL, where you've got Galio sat on 2 items, Flandre sat 2, nearly 3 items picked up for the Scion, just swiftly charging at you the whole time. Yes, we've got Leandri's picked up on the Annie, and we're worked on a Black Cleaver for Way, TheShy probably working his way towards that, or a Sterax at this stage. But there's nothing really that convinces you that this set of 4 champions that do damage on IG side are ever actually going to be able to get through that front line.
And Gala, you can see in those last fights, like he is just bending over backwards to try to carry these fights, but he just doesn't have the damage just yet. As you see, pretty strong setup for the Corki for Hope, but now it's pretty strong setup for the Baron for AL. They might have overextended though. Dice double decimating smash coming through from Flandre.
Meiko.
Pop blossom from Meiko. Doesn't matter in the end. He's getting low, but they already take the fight back. Again, it's the protect the Hope comp, and Hope is still alive, but he's left out. They've left him by himself with the TheShy in his eyes. Is he able to get out? Oh! IG's plans have gone to dust. The best laid plans of mice and men crumble before the might of AL.
Tarzan, though, keeper's verdict, sends away Gala, who's doing a lot of work in this fight. Meiko, sure to fall once again. May just execute, just falls to Flandre. Again, for AL, it's all about keeping the Corki alive. They did that this time, but I'm still scared for them hitting this Baron. I think they did enough damage to Gala to make him need to go back to base, and that will secure the objective for anyone's Legends.
Oh my God, the cohesion from AL to keep Hope alive. Hope is playing out of his mind. I don't know if somebody sent him the graphic we made where he had said, you know, split 2 Hope versus Gala split 3. But honestly, we're going to need to erase Gala's name on that graphic and put Hope, because this guy is showing up in this series.
Yeah, and I think that this is a really sticky situation for the Ezreal once again. I highlighted this from the draft. Gala can play as well as an Ezreal can, but you just don't have the damage, unfortunately, to be able to go through this. Tempered Fate from Kael here, unfortunate to not catch double, but the fact that TheShy is ulting somebody that isn't Hope is a mistake. Rookie ulting somebody that isn't Hope is a mistake. You have to kill the Corki in order to win this fight. TheShy secondarily understands this. He flashes on top of him. But imagine if he had ulti here.
Yeah,
imagine if Rookie could have thrown Tippers in at this. It would have been a completely different fight. And it just means that AL can use their HP to get themselves just enough to find a way through the game.
And it feels bad the way it's panning out, but AL doing a masterclass here in this series. Again, you remember back to the last time these two teams met, not that long ago, just a couple weeks ago. It was a 2-0. And yes, some of those games were close, but IG still won in the end with good macro decision-making, good teamfight decision-making. Here, AL have blown them out of the water.
Now with the Baron at their backs, it's about how well can they close this out. How well does their competition do at sieging with just that one threat, just that one carry? Wouldn't be surprised if Hope turns his, attentions towards a defensive item on 4, maybe a Bloodthirst, and maybe even looking for a Guardian Angel. The siege onto this top tier 2, IG looking to stand firm around it.
Some poking coming in from Hope. AL, the biggest thing that they can do is kind of split off and leave Hope by himself. That happened last time, but he was still able to survive with the help of Shanks. Luckily, he can always come calling. As turrets are going to start falling apart, mid lane tier 2 goes down, at least top lane tier 2 goes down. Rookie is the engaged target. He's going to flash away from the decimating smash. Tarzan found a double knockup, and this guy's mechanics on Poppy are next level. He finds another double knockup there, and it secures a kill for AL. They try to move forward now. Gala has finally found his place and is trying to pepper them down, but the wave, the minions, they're too strong. Tarzan gets engaged on now. He's going down low, but he's not dead yet. Finally goes down to TheShy. He tries to get the backline access, but Hope is still pumping. And what was the moniker? If you can't kill Hope, you can't do anything against AL. And they will find another vicious victory over IG.
It's a triple kill for Hope, but it's an MVP fight from Shanks and Tarzan. Tarzan starts it off, and Shanks distracts the backline from IG. They will take the series, they will take down IG, and they will stop them in their tracks.
they deliver them straight to that end of the win streak here. The IG were looking for 4 in a row, looking to push the tippy top of Group Ascend. But AL, they're on their run to regain glory. They're on their run for that top 4 performance, and they ain't stopping for nobody.
A really big 2-0 for AL. After a 2-1 up against BLG, questions start to be asked. Is this the fact that BLG are on a slump? Is this that AL are back? And with a 2-0 in such a convincing fashion up against IG, you tend towards the latter. You tend toward thinking, actually, this is the AL that went to MSI, that pushed Gen G and T1 to 5 games, and that so very nearly made it the LPL have that glorious run. Anyone's legend, they seem to be now back in that stride and doing the great things that we'd seen from them in the past.
And I hate to point out the bad stuff, but that was not the IG that had been garnering so much attention over these last couple weeks. Not the IG that was looking for that continued win streak. I think we didn't see the team play that had been such a big moniker for them over these last couple games, and especially over that Anyone's Legend series just a couple weeks ago. I think some of the disconnect in some of these team fights is crazy to think about when you're looking at such an experienced roster. Microcosm of that last fight, like you were highlighting, the fact that Meiko literally finds the biggest pop blossom possible, but nobody can follow up. Nobody follows up. And I think that's so hard to watch from such an experienced roster who is trying to make that push, who just have started their second round robin and started with a little bit of a whimper.
Yeah, and again, we looked at the strength of schedule coming up for IG in particular. They've got 2 series versus BLG, which is not going to be easy by any means. So we need to see something just a little bit better from them. And there were definitely questions. Are this IG team going to be able to perform up to the level that is required to make it to Worlds? And when we're struggling like this against AL, again, you don't quite know and you can't quite be convinced that that's the truth.
Yeah, and that's the tough facts of the situation. But hey, it's just one rung in a ton of games still left to be played for IG. So I think it's turning that attention back over to AL. We saw the exact AL I feel like we needed to see. We saw Tarzan back in prime form here on the map. His connections with Kael, maybe not as much in game number 1, but especially in game number 2, were so lethal. And I'm glad that he got to show off his Poppy performance again, because I think this guy is one of the best Poppies in the league and maybe not the world.
Yeah, and looking at what it was from the 2 of them syncing up and going for those plays, right? You've got the mobility that a Poppy gives you, right? With Deadman's Plate second, with W just to make you that little bit more speedy. Any champion with a movement speed, but steroids, you're always going to feel like you can get around the map that little bit faster. And Kael on the board, again, I talked about it right at the beginning of the draft. They'd set themselves up for it super early on, and then on R5, it just fits perfectly. They're able to play together as this wonderful in-tandem duo that end up running the Rift.
Yeah, and hey, it played out beautiful and put a little bit of a hamper on IG trying to draw games out there. I mean, the second one was like 32, 33 minutes or something along those lines. So a little bit closer to their average, but the fact that it was 2 games that AL just kind of won in one fell swoop. I mean, that's what felt so clinical about it, right? Like they were winning a couple consecutive fights, but then they have the kind of know-how that, oh, we can just win the game here. Especially that game number 1 just felt like it kind of came out of one fight. But this game number 2 felt a little bit more worked for, but still in the end, it was just a quick end.
Yeah, I really like that worked for feels appropriate because they had to fight a little bit harder up against IG for it, but ultimately they put the work in and they never really felt they may have felt challenged, but they never failed to meet the challenge, if that makes sense. They always had the level required to match up, and I think that's what's really important. And when you look at the AL from 3 weeks ago, you look at the AL now, completely different.
Yeah, absolutely. And another gold graph that just looks like a I guess it's the opposite. Oh, what we should do is put them together and then they'll just be like,
them.
Yeah,
straight line.
It'll be really good. Just be a straight line up in that middle part. Yeah, Ezreal does a lot of damage. Who thunk it? But the comp was save hope, and the amount of times that IG tried their damnedest to get that guy. I mean, as hope, your adrenaline's got to be insane. Your health bar is like skirting the edge of disaster. I mean, he's like under 100 health in multiple fights with still members of the enemy team right next to him, and somehow still survives.
Yeah, and importantly as well, I think he's doing the damage then as well, which is what separates those great AD carries from the excellent ones. Because he knows that actually I'm safe right now. Yes, I have 100 HP, but I've got 300 units on a 75 unit auto attack champion. I'm absolutely fine to start auto attacking here and make the best of the situation that he finds himself in. It's genuinely very impressive, and I do tip my hat to Gala for this game number 3 or game number 2 even.
Absolutely.
If it was his choice to go for the Ezreal, then you start to throw question marks his way. But honestly, he did what he could with the champion that he was provided. Unfortunately, the champion he was provided wasn't what they needed.
Yeah. Oh god, I don't want to watch this again. Jesus Christ, man.
Barrier, flash, hero's entrance, summon a heal. Mikhail's! Go, go, go! Save him!
Saving Private Ryan, but if it was actually efficient and not like a 2-hour movie. And then in this situation as well, I mean, it just boils down to a little bit of chaos. Again, like you had mentioned so heftily in that one, you just save the ults, man. If you're in position. I mean, I will give it. Meiko was a little bit extended on that one, but even in here, right? Like, Shanks saving the day. Like, this was even closer to being a kill.
Yeah, and you can see that I criticized Shanks very early on, right, in the fight around the Rift Herald, and I went, hey, you know, you've ulted the wrong you've ulted the wrong target because they weren't the one getting cease and desisted. But I don't think there was a time in this game where Shanks ulted anybody other than Hope. Maybe one that we didn't quite catch. But even in that pit, he ulted Hope when Hope was absolutely fine. And it proved to be a very good trend going forward in this series.
It did. Honestly, hey, at least he stays consistent. And
yeah.
I guess that's all that really matters. And it's so funny how the game played out. When we were talking so much in draft, it's like a lot of this game comes down to momentum. Who finds those earlier advantages? Because both of them have issues. But we never got to see the issues of AL's comp. We never got to see it kind of cracked open because they were able to execute it well.
And getting to see Shanks in that final fight once again. It was a glorious fight on the Galio. He eased forward, hits the front line, and then immediately it's like, nah, I've got flash angle onto both the backliners. No stress whatsoever, and then using a reverse E, so he thinks like he gets the really fast knockup from the Justice Punch to take down Gala as well. Just a really well-played performance from Shanks
really good
on the Galio.
Mechanical executions in that game. From Shanks, from Tarzan, even from Flandre on the Scion. Saw a couple moments too. Kael, you know, he'll want that one ultimate back and the couple of magical journeys, but he's fine. He's fine.
Yeah.
Still ends up having that really extremely positive win rate on the Bard, so that's gonna feel really good. Who gets MVP though? I think like does it have to be Hope?
As much as Hope stays alive, I think he doesn't stay alive without his team. So I can give this to Kael. I can give this to Tarzan. I can give this to Shanks. Okay. It probably will end up being Hope for living. But
I think it's got to be Hope. It's got to be Hope. We'll see who it is. I do hear the music. We'll be getting over to it here soon. It's good. Kael.
Yeah, I like that.
Good.
Honestly.
Okay.
He had a rough start, bad portal, but after the Rift Herald, he did everything he was supposed to. Multiple times where he's ulting a teammate to save them for stasis. Multiple times where he's keeping his AD carry alive. Also engaging some fights as well. This is fine.
Yeah. Okay, I appreciate it. All right, well, that's it for our first season. Unfortunately, we didn't get a Giga Banger. That's why I have a second series for the possibility of having that, where we'll be going over to Weibo and BLG. Yanni will be taking over for me because I have a weird ear thing going on and it hurts really bad. So apologies for bowing out of the series. But before I go, I got to give a huge shout out to everybody on the show here. Rare Adam behind the scenes on production. Rude Dude, thank you for joining me for the first series. Got to give a huge shout out to Zach on socials, as well as Saturn in the mod chat, and everybody else watching. We will see you for Weibo versus BLG on the other side of this break.